Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Social Hypes. Today, we're diving into a significant but perhaps underreported event that took place over the Christmas holiday. While many of us were celebrating with family, the United States military was actively engaged in a counter-terrorism operation in West Africa. On Christmas Day, the U.S. launched targeted airstrikes in Nigeria, specifically aimed at militants affiliated with the Islamic State, or ISIS. This operation marks a continued effort by the U.S. and its allies to disrupt extremist networks in the region. According to U.S. Africa Command, known as AFRICOM, these strikes were conducted in coordination with the Nigerian government. The primary target was an ISIS West Africa encampment located in Nigeria's Yobe state. This group, often referred to as ISWAP, is a splinter faction of Boko Haram and has become one of the most active and dangerous extremist organizations in the region. The specific location of the strike was near a town called Tumbun, situated in the Lake Chad Basin area. This region has unfortunately been a hotbed of militant activity for years, creating immense instability and a severe humanitarian crisis. The official statement from AFRICOM highlighted that the operation was part of a broader strategy to degrade the capabilities of these violent extremist organizations. U.S. Air Force General James Hecker, who leads U.S. Air Forces in Europe and Africa, emphasized that these groups pose a threat not only to African nations, but also to American interests and international security. He stated that the strikes were carefully planned to minimize harm to civilians. An initial assessment following the operation indicated that it was successful in neutralizing several terrorists and destroying key structures at the encampment. Crucially, the report also mentioned that no civilians were believed to have been injured or killed, which is always a primary concern in these types of kinetic operations. This Christmas Day action wasn't an isolated incident. It's part of a larger, ongoing campaign. Just a couple of weeks prior, in early December, similar U.S. airstrikes targeted al-Shabaab militants in Somalia, another group with ties to the global al-Qaeda network. These consecutive operations signal a persistent American military presence and commitment to combating terrorism on the African continent, even as global attention might be focused elsewhere. The strategy involves not just direct military action, but also providing support, intelligence, and training to local partner forces, like the Nigerian military, to enhance their own capacity to handle these threats. The situation in Nigeria and the wider Lake Chad region is incredibly complex. Groups like ISWAP and Boko Haram have caused immense suffering, displacing millions of people and leading to widespread food insecurity. Their tactics are brutal, often involving attacks on civilian populations, kidnappings, and efforts to establish their own harsh form of governance. The Nigerian government has been fighting this insurgency for over a decade, with varying degrees of success. International support, like these U.S. airstrikes, is seen as a critical component in tilting the balance. However, these operations also spark debate. While they can be effective in taking out key militant leaders and disrupting their operations, critics often raise concerns about the long-term effectiveness of a primarily military-led approach. They argue that to achieve lasting peace, you need to address the root causes of extremism, such as poverty, lack of education, and government corruption, which can make young people vulnerable to recruitment by these groups. A comprehensive strategy, they suggest, must heavily involve diplomacy, economic development, and humanitarian aid alongside military pressure. The Nigerian government has welcomed the support from its international partners. For them, every successful operation against these extremist groups is a step toward restoring stability and security for their citizens. The coordination between U.S. AFRICOM and the Nigerian armed forces in this Christmas Day strike is a clear example of that partnership in action. It demonstrates a shared resolve to prevent these groups from gaining a permanent foothold and expanding their violent ideology. So, what does this mean moving forward? We can likely expect this pattern of targeted strikes and partner support to continue. The U.S. and its allies seem determined to keep pressure on ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates across Africa, preventing them from using the continent as a base for planning attacks elsewhere. For the people living in regions like Yobe State, the hope is that these efforts will eventually lead to a safer, more secure future. It's a long and difficult road, but actions like the one on Christmas Day are a significant part of that ongoing struggle. That's the latest on this developing story. It's a reminder that even during holidays, global security challenges persist, and the work to counter them never really stops. What are your thoughts on this approach? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this report informative, Please consider liking the video and subscribing for more updates. See you next time.